Now, today is the International Day for Decent Work. To mark this day, the Congress of South African Trade Unions, COSATU, and its affiliates will hold pickets in different provinces across the country to highlight the plight of workers.
And as we've reported on extensively, the labour market has faced many challenges: job losses, the long-term impact caused by COVID-19, and the disconnect between unions and workers. So let's talk about it all with COSATU Secretary General, or General Secretary, I should say, Solly Petwe.
Solly, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it. One of the comments that have certainly come out of COSATU, for one, is that decent work is still far from reality for many. Let's just talk about the core elements of work in today's South African context and what that could look like if we were to be as close to reality as possible.
Well, thank you very much for having us to this very, very important International Decent Work Day. Indeed, the issues of international decent work, for us, democracy is about delivering a decent work to the people of South Africa, but also in other international countries that are observing this date. The challenges that workers are facing in this country, it's very huge. The economy of this country is going down almost every day. But we think that this is because it's happening because there is no a coherent engagement with trade union movement. We have raised a number of issues in relation to these challenges that we're facing. The unemployment rate in this country is now, since 1994, we're seeing a very, very downgrading of the unemployment rate that is going up on a daily basis. You have touched the issues of the economic growth that is not growing. And this is caused by an attitude of employers, an attitude of government, which is also an employer in relation to dealing with these matters of the growth, the development in this country. So today we are all over in the 9 provinces, and decent work for us as COSATU is not just a symbolic slogan, but it should be a comprehensive package of intervention through legislation, through collective bargaining, through organizing campaigns and uplifting the working and the living conditions of millions of workers in this country. So we're taking up some of this issue today. But one of the critical issues that is creating this unemployment rate to continue, or to continue to see employers retrenching, is these things of austerity measures. But also this austerity measures is caused by a scrabble of corruption that is taking place. As you said, today, one of the areas that we're targeting in Gauteng is too much to the Tembisa Hospital. The SIU report revealed that there's a lot of money that was stolen, there's a lot of money that was misused, mismanaged, and we're therefore saying as COSATU today that those who are implicated in relation to corruption must face the music. We are also marching also to the employers that employers must respect the legislation. You remember last year we marched, and by the time we're marching, we had on the same day with 7,200 employers who are deducting the money of workers, particularly pension fund, and they're not paying it to the relevant funding where they're expected to pay. Today, there's increase to almost to about 15,000 companies that are deducting money of the workers and they are not paying, including municipalities. And we're saying today, we want action. We want the response in relation to the memorandum that we've submitted. But as I said, this federation called COSATU this year will be celebrating 40th anniversary. One of the issues that we're going to say, in 40 years, what is that we've achieved? Have we made an improvement of condition of service of workers since COSATU was launched in 1985?
Solly, I want to go back to your initial point here. You made note of no coherent engagement with trade unions that seems to be happening. Who then needs to engage with trade unions? And I'll give you an example here. A friend of mine was speaking to me, and he said to me that the reason he doesn't feel as though trade unions are necessary is because all they do is march. And that seems like, you know, what some people might view maybe as just there's no actual engagement, and it's just about the industrial action. How would you engage with something like that? Because wouldn't that coherent engagement be up to you and your responsibility as a federation?
Look, what we're saying, we do have an engagement at level of NETLEC. We do have a position that out of NETLEC engagement with the 4 constituency or partners of NETLEC. But what comes out of there is what is called an implementation program. That's where we're facing a serious challenges. And if workers, in terms of the Labor Relations Act, when we engage with the employers and employers do not respond to what we've agreed, what else can we do is to march. And when we march, we are forcing employers the law, but if they don't respond in relation to a march, the next thing that we need to do is to take the employers to court. And that's what we're preparing. Just to give an example on some of these issues, we have taken a number of municipalities to court, and the outcome of the court is that the municipalities must implement what the law says. And we are hearing now some of them, they are appealing on some of those issues. So engagement is happening at the level of NETLEC, but when it comes to issues of implementation, it's a problem. You will recall that COSATU applied for Section 77 in 2019 to force the government of South Africa to convene what is called National Job Summit. In that National Job Summit, both government and business made a commitment to invest in South Africa, to create jobs, to protect or preserve the current jobs and increase the job. They did not do that. What we had was that others were saying it's not the responsibility of government to create jobs. Others were saying they were putting something what is called the investment strike against the investment in South Africa. Those are the issues that we're facing with today as workers. And as I said, unity of the workers of this country, if we're united, we'll be able to defeat the enemy. And our enemy is these employers who does not want to implement the legislation that we have in this country.
Well, you're a far way from the glory days of trade unionism in South Africa, Solly. We know that, and you yourselves have acknowledged that union membership has dropped below 30% nationally. There seems to be a disconnect between workers and traditional labor structures. In fact, let me just quickly bring in an ex-post from one of our viewers by the name of Rick, who says, not at all. In fact, this is from Facebook, not at all. I lost 2 cases some years ago, and I was represented by the union. But just in general, the sentiment seems to be that it's the question around the relevance of a union. What do you think is responsible, Solly, for the lack of faith in trade unions in South Africa?
My view, the union are still. In my view, union are still relevant. There's a number of things that we've achieved. There's a lot of things that workers have achieved through the engagement or through the negotiations for the union. For example, the national minimum wage, it was achieved because of the engagement that the union has. The issues around the Companies Act, it has been achieved through the engagement of the union. The issues around the amendment of improving the UIF Act to benefit women, for them to claim for the miscarriage, for the stillborn, it was negotiated through the unions. The issue of representing workers at the level of CCMA or at the level of the workplace when they are charged, it's subjected to the capacity building of individual software or individual person that is there. And nothing stops workers when they're facing this challenge that they are not happy to bring the matter to the federation. Remember that COSATU is a federation. We're not a union. But that's why workers belong to the federation. When they are not happy with their union, they have that responsibility to bring the case to us as COSATU, as a federation, to challenge that matter. And nothing stops us to challenge that matter to an extent. And we've done that in many incidents. But
Solly, notwithstanding the gains, as you say, both in law and in practice, the movements, the needle that you have shifted for workers, they're not joining you in numbers.
Well, you are right. They are not jumping. They are not joining affiliates of COSATU in numbers because of certain things that they have a feeling. But what I'm saying is that we think that from 1994 until today, we've done a lot of work. What is expected to do is to do what we say is a capacity building to individual unions, but to individuals to defend and improve the conditions of workers in all sectors.
Yeah. Dr. Soli, at the same time, while this is happening, you've made note that yourself and some of your affiliates and your members will be marching to Tembisa Hospital.